But if I was going to play a young character of anybody, I would probably want to play a young Captain America.
Yeah.
Just because Captain America growing up and still is my favorite superhero of all time.
Welcome to WatchMojo's Poppin the Culture, your weekly entertainment touchpoints. And me, well, I'm your host with the most, Mojo, of course. That's right, it's me, Mr. Hollywood himself, Matt Demers. Such a great show coming your way. I'll be speaking with Maxwell Jenkins. You know him from Netflix's Lost in Space. He's also in the new Amazon Prime series Reacher. Plus, Alessio Della Valle. He's the director of American Night. I'll be chatting with him. We got all that and so much more. But first, let's jump into it. It's your Hollywood headlines. All right, as we do each and every show, we kick things off with a bit of a deep dive in the world of entertainment and look at some of the more interesting developments. I need help breaking it down, and I'm always excited to have my guest today. She's the lovely Kirsten Ria. How are you doing, Kirsten?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Kirsten, I didn't prep you for this, but I've been following you on your socials and you've been doing so many of these cosplays and it's so great. What are some of the favorites that you've done recently? Maybe we'll show a photo. We'll throw one up.
I recently did a Harley Quinn one. I always love cosplaying Harley Quinn. She is just one of those people that I feel like I resonate with really well. And I think especially with Margot Robbie's version, we look once I get all the makeup on, we look quite similar. So yeah, for some reason, whenever I do a Harley Quinn shoot, I'm like, oh yes, it looks so good. So amazing. Yeah, I was really happy with that one.
All right, we'll throw up a Harley Quinn to show folks because it's so great. Okay, well let's dive into some of the things that are going on out there. We're starting in the movies. I love me some movies, and we're getting a lot of sequels coming out. So this is a bit of a sequel check-in because there are some announcements coming out. Number one, this one has me excited. A new Scream. That's right, the Scream number 5, which they actually just titled Scream, but whatever. It's in theaters. And critics and audiences are digging it. Admittedly, I haven't seen it because where I am, theaters were shuttered, so I wasn't able to see it when it came out, and I just haven't found the time. But I am so excited to see it. But guess what? Scream 6 is now in production. Are you a Scream fan? Because I am loving this news.
It took me a while to watch it. I remember accidentally getting a glimpse of it as a kid, and it like really scared me. So I and my mom was like, you shouldn't watch it. And then I finally watched the first Scream and Scream 2 and 3, I think I watched recently. And I really enjoyed it. Obviously, the first one's always going to be the best one because it introduces you to the franchise and some amazing characters. And it's fun. You know, it's the only thing I find with when you have a horror franchise like this that does keep going is that it can get very samey. So I was really excited I still haven't seen the new one, but I was also really hyped to see the new one simply because it's been such a long time and it did seem like it was going back to the roots of the first movie with the original cast. So yeah, and I've heard there's like sort of rumors going around of like, you know, sneaky cameos and stuff. So yeah, I really want to actually catch up with it and see, you know, does it warrant a Scream 6? I don't know yet. So I'm hoping it's got us all sucked back in. It seems so.
Yeah, and Scream has always been good at doing like the meta, like they're always like very self-aware, which is great with horror movies. So, and I've been like you, I've been plugging my ears anytime I don't want to get any spoilers about the new one, but I hear there's new twists. Obviously, it's a different director. Wes Craven has obviously passed on. So excited for that. So Scream 6, put it on your radar, Scream fans. That's exciting news. Also exciting news for me. I don't know if I'm alone in this, but I love me some Mortal Kombat. I really am a big fan of Mortal Kombat for some reason. It's a guilty pleasure. I know the movies aren't fantastic. There was one in the 90s. The first one was okay. Second one, don't watch it. But this new one was okay. I dug it. You know, I like I said, I love the franchise and I like what they're doing with it. Now we get a sequel officially, obviously to the more recent one that came out. Are you a MK fan?
I mean, I played the games and stuff as a kid, and I do remember briefly seeing like the 90s movies, and it's just silly. And when I did see the trailer for the new Mortal Kombat, I thought, okay, this is the direction that I think they definitely should go, because I feel like because it's such a silly and gory franchise, you can either go one way or the other, you know what I mean? It could either be stupidly silly with the gore like what the 90s films were, or it can kind of take it in a more dark direction, which is what I think the recent film did. But it still has to have a silliness to it, and I think it's always got to have that in there. And I think that's why when people were talking about Johnny Cage, I was saying about how Ryan Reynolds would be so perfect for Johnny Cage, because he's got that dark gore comedy aspect from like Deadpool, and I just feel like, you know what I mean? I feel like it works. You know, if you're going to do a Mortal Kombat and bring in like a silly character like that, Ryan Reynolds, I feel like as popular as he is, and he's kind of in everything at the moment, it's kind of his that's kind of his deal. That's kind of what he does really well.
That would be a French kiss casting if they brought on Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, because Johnny Cage, who's my favorite character, by the way, was not in the first Mortal Kombat, the remake that they did. So he is going to be in the second. They tease it at the end, so he better be in there. But now the question is, who will play him? Ryan Reynolds is a great casting choice. I'll throw in, you know, I'm a wrestling fan. There's a wrestler called The Miz. For those that know that The Miz would probably be a good Johnny Cage. By the way, I'm surprised. Mortal Kombat, if you look at those characters and the designs, Kirsten, you're into cosplay. Hello.
Yes.
This is like cosplay heaven, I would think.
Yeah, it's definitely on my radar. It's just trying to pick the right character. I can't remember the name of the one. I don't know if she's in the movie, but she's kind of got like a purple kind of ninja outfit with the mask. And then when the mask, I think she is in the movie, she takes the mask off and it's just this grotesque like demon mouth.
There,
so I was very tempted, and I was going to maybe play around with special effects, but I'm not that good. So yeah, it's definitely on my radar. I was probably going to go more down the avenue of Sonya Blade, because I just love a badass like military looking woman. There's something about that. It's like Cammy as well. I love Cammy from Street Fighter, so I feel like they'd pair well together for a cosplay.
You would do so good in that. Okay, last one in the sequel, because there's a lot, and this is just highlighting a few. Speaking of Ryan Reynolds, well, he was in a Netflix movie called Red Notice with The Rock and Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot, Apple, tomato, however you want to say. Apples to oranges. So guess what? They're doing not one sequel, but two sequels to Red Notice. Now, here's the thing. I saw this movie, and this is Netflix's most expensive movie ever. They put so much money involved, threw so much money, probably to pay those actors. It did really well. I thought the final product was okay. It didn't blow me away. Didn't change the game. I thought the cast, sure, they had some good chemistry. There's a little bit of a twist at the end, but two sequels? What's your take on Red Notice?
Yeah, it's one of those films that didn't appeal to me at all. It just looked very similar to the rest of these kind of films, especially with Dwayne Johnson. This is kind of the sort of stuff that he just does constantly, and they all seem just very similar. And yeah, it looked like it had some good jokes and some good like physical gags and stuff in it. But I think that's just Ryan Reynolds being himself. He's just a funny person. So it didn't appeal to me. I'm sure, like you said, it is just like you'd be like, okay, yeah, that was good. Is it good enough to warrant two sequels? I don't know. I don't know if I'd say two. Maybe, maybe a sequel to kind of clear things up if they left it on a cliffhanger. I don't know, but I don't think two is. We'll see how they do. They're riding the star power obviously on here.
Speaking of star power, I want to talk to you about a show with Zendaya. How do you say it? Zendaya?
I think she says it's Zendaya. I've
probably been saying it wrong. People are going to throw me hate. You say her name wrong. Well, she's in Euphoria. That's the point I'm getting at. And this is a show that's been on we're now in its second season, but guess what, Kirsten? They've actually doubled their audience this year. And I see it now. I see it on all my socials, Twitter, Instagram. You'll see the TikTok compilations, all this stuff. So it's a show that's really kind of captured the audience now, doubling that audience. As I said, it's getting renewed for another season. Have you watched this? It's teen drama, but very much not what you would think. Like it's not Riverdale. It's not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's again not one of the things that sort of appealed to me. Teen dramas and stuff. Like I never watched Riverdale or anything like that. It's just I'm just a bit like nah. But it's one of those things that I'm like maybe I should watch it because it's just so popular and everyone keeps going on about it. And again, Zendaya, it's got that star power. She's just super popular right now, and I think that's another reason why so many people have been drawn to the show is because she is just super hot right now. She's really big within like the LGBT community, and people are just crushing so hard on Zendaya. So I feel like they're just kind of trying to get their Zendaya fix with anything they can.
Oh, she's great in this. Yeah.
I mean, and she's fantastic. I mean, why wouldn't you be crushing on Zendaya? So I completely understand, but yeah, it's just we have I don't know if you've heard of it, but in the UK we had a show called Skins.
Oh yeah, I have heard of it. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, so Euphoria seemed very similar to that, and I was just like, that was one of the shows I was just like, yeah, like, you know, sex, drugs, rock and roll, but teenagers. It just, I wasn't that sort of teenager, so it didn't appeal to me. So yeah, but
much...
maybe the Americanized Euphoria, Zendaya, bright lights, neon sparkles.
Oh yeah,
it kind of, that's why I'm like, maybe that appeals to me a little more. And the costumes look fantastic.
And there's so much nudity in the show. I don't know if there's a quota. Yeah, no, like every episode I'm like, and like guys, girls, doesn't matter, full frontal. It's like,
oh wow.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like maybe a quota for the
there has
directors.
To be a certain amount of people naked each episode.
Oh, yeah. It's always surprise. It always catches me on surprise. Like, oh.
You're like, oh,
there it is. But no, it is a good show, and it's completely different. And I've been watching the second season. I'm digging it. Okay,
nice.
Let's round off our Hollywood headlines with something that we've been doing the past couple of weeks. We've been doing these Valentine's Day picks. Now, I've had some people from WatchMojo deliver their picks, whether it's a rom-com. I always say you can do something anti-Valentine's Day. No one's gone that route, but we've had some good stuff. So the idea is for people that are looking for something to watch at home to snuggle up with their significant other, or maybe it's just their pet. This is what you can do on the old V-Day. Kirsten, you have the distinction of being our final recommendation for Valentine's Day. What do you got? What do you think? What should folks be watching?
Okay, well, because it's me and I love my horror, I of course have to pick a horror Valentine's movie, which is My Bloody Valentines. You can either watch the original or the remake with Jensen Ackles. I would go for the remake simply because it has Jensen Ackles. It's silly, it's, you know, stupid, but it's horror. It's a horror Valentine's movie that if you and your other, you know, half are also like horror movies, you can watch that. Another one that I, for some reason, I'm always drawn to around Valentine's Day, especially since it came out, is Happy Death Day, especially the second version, because it was released on Valentine's Day. And the second one kind of is based more around her and her boyfriend and her friend, because in this alternate reality, her boyfriend isn't her boyfriend. So there's kind of more of a romance aspect in there. She's trying to win him back. So yeah, those are my two picks. A little anti-Valentine's, but kind of not really. There's still romance in there. It's just more my sort of cup of tea with the gore and the horror and the blood. And
listen, I think horror on Valentine's Day is perfect, because then you're gonna cuddle up. It's more. Come on, it's a recipe for romance. Okay, Kirsten, let's continue the fun. Stick around, because right now, me and you, we got to go beyond the list. All right, Kirsten, here's what we're going to do. We're going to dig deep in the vast archives of WatchMojo. We pluck out an old top 10 list. We go beyond that list, but really that's just me and you giving our own personal opinions. Looking at the topic today, it's a very interesting one. The top 10 darkest secrets of Hollywood. Yeah, so Hollywood, like any other industry, there's always going to be that kind of shady past. I mean, things are changing, so I think we can already guess a few instances that might end up on this particular list. But I thought this might be fun to kind of break down and look at some of the dark secrets over there in Hollywood, since we all watch movies and TV and so on and so forth. Number 10 on here is the presence of organized crime. Did you know that a film that I think me and you talked about last time you were on, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, was actually partially put on by organized crime? They were part of a production company
Really?
that had ties to organized crime. Yeah. So we can thank the mob.
Gosh.
We can thank gangsters for Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay,
No,
well, there you go.
no, but back in the day, it was very much ripe for the picking for organized crime to have ties to these movie studios. And you would actually be surprised with some of the more popular movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Even my dog is like, I can't believe it. Do you think, I mean, we don't have that today, do we? Do you think organized crime?
I would hope not, but I'm sure there's probably ties within certain movies, because sometimes you'll watch a movie and you're like, I feel like this is trying to send a message and there's maybe something behind it. And yeah, I feel like there's something there. Whether it's organized crime, I don't know. Could be Illuminati or something like that. They're trying to tell us something. I don't know.
I love that. And I always wonder too, when you get like the mafia movies, like the Godfather, I'm like, how do they know?
Yeah.
Like, what goes on behind it? They must have.
There was a rat. There was a rat on the inside, Johnny.
Yeah, they must have some sort of inside. They must be in bed with someone in the mob.
Yeah.
Telling them the inside scoop. I love that. Okay, number 9, diversity issues. I mean, okay, so this is one of the things that I was talking about. So, and it's shocking to me that it took so long for Hollywood to really put a spotlight on the issue. 2015, that's when things started to change, because then you had that hashtag Oscars so white became prevalent. But really before then, and you're seeing it now, where a lot of actors are coming out saying, who's the actor, John Leguizamo?
Yes, right.
He was saying that he was turned down for so many roles because they didn't want it to be a Hispanic movie, right?
It frustrates me that there is so many talented actors that aren't white that do get turned down simply for how they look. For example, I can't remember his name, but he played Glenn in The Walking Dead. His name is
I know
from me completely. And it's so sad that once he left The Walking Dead, he just was like, I know my career is going to practically be over, because it's so difficult to get cast in a movie when you're not a white person. And it's so sad because he's a fantastic actor, and he's actually done really well for himself. He's been like in a lot of movies and stuff recently. But again, they have mainly been like Korean movies, or they've been about Korean families and stuff, which is fine, and they are fantastic. But it's just like, but he's great. Why would you discriminate against someone who is a very talented actor simply because of the ethnicity? It frustrates me. It really frustrates me that I I could talk about this for ages, because there's just too many talented people out there that aren't given a chance. It's sad that it took that long, that it's taken this long for it to finally start, people getting given the chance that they should have gotten from the beginning. Oh.
Okay. Sorry, I'm glad you took that long to get that out of your system, because my dog was having a barking fit. So I had actually put myself on mute. But no, I agree with everything you just said. But let's move on to something a little something different for number 8, the adult origins.
Adult origins?
And adult being the adult industry
right.
Origins. So here's the thing. So we know that there are some actors that had their start, quote unquote, in the adult industry. Sylvester Stallone comes to mind.
Yeah.
But other directors, I mean, I mentioned Wes Craven. Did you know that he directed some adult movies?
I did not. Part of me would kind of hope that they still have his twist within them somewhere.
Barry Sonnenfeld, who did the Men in Black, he worked on many productions in the adult industry. And then you're seeing a lot of editors, film editors. And so what they'll do is they'll use different names for the adult movies, and then when they go on to edit the mainstream ones, they'll use different names.
I mean, you have to start somewhere. You've got to get that experience, and if that's the sort of place that's hiring,
why not?
Go for it. Why not?
It's a movie.
Exactly. It's experience. You can add it to your CV. It's fine.
The same equipment.
Yeah.
There you go. I think. All right. Number 7, the toll of being a child star. So a lot of dark stories and things that come out about child stars going all the way back. I'm reminded of The Wizard of Oz. Who's the actress? I forget that.
Oh, I know who you mean.
The main Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. She was put on a very, very strict diet. They were giving her caffeine and diet pills, and it was just I read a whole thing about her in preparation for that movie, and I was like, oh man, I can't believe it. But then, I mean, even fast forward to like the 80s and 90s, and you'll see all kinds of terrible treatment of child stars. Some of them have been able to get out of it. Drew Barrymore, of course, being a success story.
Drew Barrymore is always one that comes to mind. I remember actually watching something about her recently, and I knew that she probably struggled because she was so young when she started, but when she was talking about having like going to nightclubs and stuff when she was like 6 or 7 years old, and I just think, and I know that was a different time, and it's not, doesn't make it any more acceptable, but it's just insane that they would even think, this is normal, let a 6-year-old into a nightclub and do, have alcohol and all sorts. It's mind-blowing to me, and it's really refreshing to see her doing so well still, and that she was able to overcome that, because I love her. I love Drew Barrymore. I'm so glad that she's happy and healthy and able to still have a career, because I know that it really does destroy a lot of these people into their adulthood when they are child stars.
Yeah, no, for sure. She was at Studio 54. She was frequenting like every week as a kid. That's insane to me. Because a lot, speak of shady, dark secrets, a lot of things went on at that particular club. Number 6 on this list at the halfway point, not paying writers enough. So this is something that Hollywood tends to do, is they don't value the writers as much as they do, the stars, and other crew members. But it really comes down, and I appreciate the writing on a show so much, especially in comedies or dramas. You can really see the difference between good writing and not so much.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, because at the end of the day, as much as the actors have to bring those characters to life, and the directors and producers have to kind of put their own sort of take and tweak on it, and it has to be shot, in a specific way if it, they want to have that their sort of stamp on it. None of this would exist without the writers. The writers are the ones who create these characters, and they're the ones that create the dialogue, and they set the scene, and it's you can tell a film could have a massive budget with an incredible load of actors and directors and equipment, but if the writing is bad, you can tell, like, it doesn't make it enjoyable. It all stems down to good writing.
That script, exactly. That's why you'll see a lot of writers' strikes. We've had a few in recent memory, and they're just looking for their fair cut, looking for appreciation. Number 5 here, the treatment of animals. This is not. There's a terrible history of. I mean, obviously things have changed, I hope, but I mean, if you go back as far as Ben-Hur, with the things with the horses and the chariot races where they. And a lot of Westerns where the horses are falling. I mean, that's real. And a lot of, Friday the 13th, they killed a snake on screen for a scene. There's things.
It's strange, isn't it? Because you just, and again, I know that it's like, it was a different time and they just don't register for some reason. But just for me, it's mind blowing that they could not sort of value the lives of animals as they would like a human being. I mean, even I remember when I was a kid and watching The Abyss, and there's a scene where they put like a rat in this cage, and it's supposed to be that he's breathing in this like liquid oxygen. But I was like freaking out as a kid, because we had the like director's cut where they cut out the whole bit with the rat practically drowning. And I'm like, just like saying to my mum, I'm like, is the rat okay? Is this normal? She's like, it's fine, he's breathing in liquid oxygen. I was like, no, like in real life, the real rat, he's not actually breathing in liquid oxygen. And it's just that, it's just strange to me that again, we have the technology to do CGI and all that sort of stuff if it ever comes to anything like that now. But yeah, it's just crazy that people thought that, this is fine, let's just kill animals for real on TV and movies. It's bad. I'm glad that we're at a changing point now.
I think we've changed, because what's happening now is a lot of these animals actually have their own agents
Yeah. And like Instagrams and TikToks.
Yeah, so there we go. Maybe that's a good thing.
Therefore, they're real things now, apparently.
Come on. Number four on this list is the pressure for the perfect weight. Oh, this goes back to what I was talking about with the with the Wizard of Oz, where they were trying to get the kid actors at a specific weight. Forget about kids. I mean, adults are in there as well, and especially with the advent of superhero films. Apparently, it's built into contracts that you have to have. Yeah. You sign on for your contract, but you have to get a specific trainer and a specific build for the guys I'm talking about too. Yeah. And even what was it, Princess Leia for Star Wars for the remake? Yeah. She had to drop a certain amount of weight. It was
Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher. She was, I don't know, she was on a talk show talking about this, where she was somewhat joking about it, but you could tell she wasn't really. So I feel like there's a lot of pressure, even if it's
I think that I can kind of see where people are coming from with like superheroes and things, because it's like, you know, they're supposed to be fit and, you know, they're training and they're fighting crime and stuff. But at the same time, I think it's, you know, especially when these people are given superpowers, they're supposed to be normal people and they've been given these superpowers. So, you know, why can't they be normal looking? You know, why just an average Joe, an average weight, average size, and they just happen to fight crime? You know, just normalize it. These are the people that kids want to look up to and associate with.
I was always, I'm a comic guy, so I was always you see the comics of Spider-Man, and Peter Parker's like the scrawny guy, but as soon as he puts on the Spider-Man outfit, he's got ripped. All these muscles. Oh, like, whoa, what?
It's built into the suit.
He's like, how is he hiding all that? Number 3, this isn't any secret, the substances on set. I mean, you can point to any film set, TV or movies in the 80s or 70s, 60s beforehand, where substances were just flying. Saturday Night Live comes to mind. That show was run on like cocaine in the early days, they said.
It was that time period, you know. It was like, I was even discussing this with my partner the other day about how there was a point in time that it was just completely normal to just be walking around just snorting things and injecting things, you know what I mean? And it was no one batted an eyelid. It was just like, yeah, this is cool, this is normal. Whereas now you see someone walking down the street and sort of unscrewing something and having a sniff, you'd be like, what are you? Oh my God. Like, you know, it's just that's just not something that is acceptable at all really today. It's mind-blowing.
The Blues Brothers movie reportedly had a price of cocaine built into the budget of the movie.
Oh my God.
So that just goes to show you. So apparently
wow.
that was, number 2, The Fixers. This is interesting because you always hear, there's a show called Ray Donovan, and there was a movie called Hail Caesar, where they kind of look at those Hollywood fixers that kind of make problems go away.
Right.
Even my dog has opinions on this. I don't know what's gotten into him tonight, but the Fixers, this was a real thing. People that just make problems go away. That's fascinating to me.
That's scary. I don't know if I'd want to know a fixer, you know, someone that could come up to you and say like, yeah, I can make that go away. Like, that's gonna just like, okay, how?
They're
how
real.
far does this go?
They're out there.
Oh,
They're out there.
That creeps me out a little bit.
Watch the show Ray Donovan to get an inside scoop of what a fixer could do. Okay. There's a lot of fixing going on in that show. Okay. It's supposed to be a movie, by the way, for Ray Donovan fans. So thumbs up for that. All right, number 1, Kirsten. Was there any wonder that the dark past and secrets of Hollywood? Well, we got to talk about that casting couch.
Oh,
it goes back to the very, very beginning, and of course, with the Me Too movement and all, everyone's been called out with
as they should.
Yeah, but this has been going on forever, and it's shocking to me that it lasted so long. WatchMojo's highlighting all the way back to 1924.
Wow.
Where films would actually use it as plot devices in the movie. So it was kind of this open secret, if you will. So so the casting couch, and it's almost a bit of a joke. But I mean, put yourself in the shoes of these poor young actresses.
And that's the thing is they're young, they're impressionable, and they're just excited, and there's this person that's saying, hey, I can make you a star and I can make you famous, but you just gotta do this for me quickly. And it's just I think when you're so desperate to become something and you want that more than anything, there are, especially when you're young, you are willing to do anything, and it's very sad. There's even something I read about recently with Tom Holland. It wasn't a casting couch situation, but he thought it was going to be with the new Uncharted movie. I don't know if you've heard about this.
Is this
about
with
how
Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah, with Mark Wahlberg gifted him like a muscle massager. And then gave it to Tom Holland, and then drove him back to his hotel, and he was like, is this a casting couch situation? Like, because
he thought it was something else.
Yeah, he thought it was a different kind of massager, and that Mark Wahlberg was like taking him back to his place to be like, hey, you want to be in the big movies, kid, you gotta it was not that. It was just a normal innocent muscle massage.
Yeah, because Wahlberg owns a bunch of products.
Yeah.
And he was gifting him one, but yeah, I read that. So there you go. So even Tom Holland is aware of the casting couch. Crazy stuff. Those were the top 10 darkest secrets of Hollywood. Let's hope the industry is changed for the better. Kirsten, thank you so much for helping me break that all down, and thanks for bringing the fun today. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, same. It's always fun to do these. And that was actually a list that I haven't done myself. So that was really interesting. I like that.
There you go. We aim to educate as well as entertain.
Now I know. The more you know.
Speaking of entertain, it is now time for our first of two Mojo Chats of the week. His name, Maxwell Jenkins. Get a load of this young actor. All right, I'm so excited to talk with a very talented young actor. Maxwell Jenkins is here. Hey, Maxwell, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Glad to be here. I grew up watching you guys, so it's awesome to be here.
Amazing. We love WatchMojo fans, trust us, especially when they're as famous as you. You've been in a lot of cool properties, and I kind of want to touch on a few of them. One of them, actually, brand spanking new, that people can see you in, is something called Reacher.
Yeah, Jack Reacher. It's based on the Jack Reacher novels by Lee Child, and amazing to be a part of it. It was just a really fun thing to do, coming off of Lost in Space season 3, something a little bit different. Jack Reacher is very different than Will Robinson, and I got the chance to play young Jack Reacher. So
just a little different. Yeah, so that's interesting too, because you actually play Jack Reacher, but in his younger years, obviously. Did you, as an actor, for research of that, like, I don't know, was there kind of origins out of the books, or how did you approach it?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, well, obviously, the books are a really big inspiration, so that was great to have. But I was playing a younger version of a character someone else was creating. So I met with Alan Richardson, who's playing old Jack Reacher, not old, but Jack Reacher, and
big Reacher.
Yeah, big Reacher.
He's a big guy. He's very intimidating. I've seen a few episodes, and like, this guy he can kick my butt. I know that for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, I met with him over Zoom, and I could tell he was massive. So I talked with him, and actually something that we talked about a lot was Jack Reacher's like a crocodile. So we got into like that kind of mindset where he sits back, he observes with his eyes just above water, and he observes everything. He's an observer, he's a listener. He does talking through his actions. So that's really the research that I did, was talk with him about that, and also a lot of gestures and physicality that he was bringing to the character, that we wanted to keep some continuity when he was younger.
Yeah, no, I can totally see trying to get in sync. Yeah, now that you think about it, you're playing someone that's younger, you kind of want to have those characters similar. You mentioned Lost in Space. I kind of want to go back to that just a little bit. Season 3 is available now. That's the final season?
Final season of Lost in Space.
Say it ain't so, Maxwell.
Yes.
Yeah, no. Well, it was good while it lasted. What was your experiences on that particular show? Because like Jack Reacher, this is obviously based on a previous incarnation. So was that intimidating, or what was that process like? Because you had a pretty cool cast as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge sci-fi fan. Grew up watching sci-fi, whether that be Star Wars, Star Trek, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, you name it, I've seen it. Blade Runner. But stepping into the shoes of a show as iconic as Lost in Space, and particularly a character as iconic as Will Robinson, was definitely a daunting task. And there was a lot of research that went into, formulating the character of Will Robinson, as well as, formulating the entire tone of the show. Obviously, our show is very different than the original. It's more modernized, but I would say that, when we were going into it, we wanted to make sure that the heart of the show was still family. We wanted to make sure that even though so much is different, that family was still at the center. And for Will Robinson, what I did is I got an email from our director of the first episode, and he said, watch Black Stallion, The Iron Giant, and E.T. To prepare for your relationship with the robot, because that was really the biggest thing to prepare for. I would.
And all those movies you just mentioned are so great. I love all.
I couldn't get through the Black Stallion. It took me a few days to get through. I was crying at every turn.
You've also played and Reacher, you're playing young Reacher. In Sense8, you were a young version of a character there. But I also discovered that you were also in Never Stopping, right? The pop.
Oh, Pop Star. Yeah,
Pop Star. Whatever the name is with Andy Samberg.
Yes, that was, oh my
you
gosh.
played a young version there too. So you seem to be playing a lot of the young versions of characters. Is there a particular character that you would like to play a young version of?
Ooh, a young version of? I would say, gosh, that's hard. I would say really anybody in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
There you go. I was waiting for it.
My dream role in the MCU is probably either Wiccan, Speed, or Hulking from the Young Avengers. But if I was going to play a young character of anybody, I would probably want to play a young Captain America. Just because Captain America growing up and still is my favorite superhero of all time. So that'd be awesome. Or like a young Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, because mostly just so I could be on set with Andrew Garfield.
Our fans love Andrew Garfield. Such a cool guy. I could see any of those, by the way. You can play a young version of anybody, even a young Bond. I don't know if you can do the accent, but I can see it.
That would be awesome too.
I can see it. I'm really interested in kind of your, well, you're still a young guy, but when you were a kid and your experiences on the circus front, that's a real thing?
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
I grew up in a circus ever since I was 1 year old. I've been practicing and training, and then I had my first show when I was 3. I did a partner acrobatics act with my dad. So I would like stand on him, but both of my feet fit into one of his hands at the time. So he would just like lift me up like that. And then eventually I created my own act on this thing called Rollabola. So it's a cylinder with a board on top, rolls around, put it on a table, stack layers, juggle on it, you name it.
Actually, this is the dream to grow up at the circus. That's so cool.
Yeah,
so cool.
Most people talk about running away with the circus. I was born with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are the things that you like outside of acting? What kind of stuff does Maxwell like to do in his time off?
Well, obviously, this is a small portion of my collection of musical instruments. This is my new Telecaster. Here, I'll pop it down for you. This is my new Telecaster.
Wow, look at that.
Her name is Debbie, named after the chicken from Lost in Space. And so I play a lot of music, guitar, mandolin, bass. I started on violin, drums, a little bit of singing, although I don't know if my sister would say that I could sing. But guitar has become a really big obsession of mine. And I love to play music. I love to write music.
Wow. So this is a real serious passion of yours.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm over quarantine, I really spent a lot of time writing and learning how to play. I would say I was a mediocre musician before quarantine, and then lockdown hit, production of Lost in Space got delayed a few months. So I was like, you know what? Might as well get good. So I spent every day hours just playing.
When's the album dropping?
Soon. Let's say soon. I'll put it together real quick for you.
All right, you come back when it's out, because I think that would be fun to chat with.
Yes.
Well, that's awesome, man. Well, listen, we really appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you and everything that you got coming up, including Reacher that's out. Well, anything on the horizon you can tease? I know a lot of stuff is secretive. You can't really say.
A lot of secretive stuff, and there's definitely stuff on the horizon that when I come back for the album, I'll tell you about. But
Amazing. And hey, Disney, MCU people, just
right, yeah, give me a call. I'm free right now, so
young Captain America. I love it. Hey, Maxwell, thank you so much for joining us here on WatchMojo's Poppin the Culture. The movie is titled American Night. It is a super stylish thrill ride centered around art. And by the way, I loved it. And here to talk to me all about it, we have the director extraordinaire, Alessio. How are you, sir?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm excited to talk about this movie. This is the type of movie that I love, by the way, when it's kind of neon soaked and it's got so much richness to it. This, correct me if I'm wrong, this is your feature directorial debut, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you also did the screenplay, the script?
Yes.
Okay. So obviously there's something there. There's a relationship with art. Why don't you tell me about that? What was it about this particular story that you just needed to tell?
I think the story originated from where all the ideas come from, which is pure imagination. I just sat down and started thinking. I didn't want to write a realistic story. I wanted to build and create a different world, sort of a parallel universe in which characters could do crazier things than they would do in normal life. So it was just a pure trip in the world of creation and imagination. And art, it just came naturally because I just love art in the widest sense of the term. Meaning anything, not just the canvases, but music, architecture, books, novels, sculptures, performance art, street art, graffiti art. And in fact, I put all the forms of art into the movie.
I was just going to say, your movie has literally all those elements thrown in, which is great.
Yes.
If you were to take a piece of art, like I'm talking the traditional sense on a canvas, out of history and hang it on one of your walls in your house, what piece of art would you, hypothetically, not that you're...
Oh, there's so many. It would take a while to choose one, but if I'm just gonna go.
Or you can give me the artist if you like.
Well, since this movie revolves around the stealing of the Pink Marilyn by Andy Warhol, I would say the Pink Marilyn by Andy Warhol, which I actually already did hang in the walls in my house.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm a Warhol guy too. I would do. He did that with a can of soup. Hey, that's the one I would grab. So like I said, this film is obviously a celebration. It's almost a love letter to art, and there's a lot of people that are involved in making this come to life. One, of course, being the cast. I mean, you were lucky enough to have a great cast of actors at your disposal, and did a fantastic job. Jonathan Rhys-Meyers is in here, Emile Hirsch, Jeremy Piven, Paz Vega, Michael Madsen, and the list goes on with the supporting actors. How was that process? Did you have certain actors in mind, or how did this come about, the casting?
I guess we have been lucky that we sent the screenplay to these actors and they responded, and they liked it and they said yes. So we were really lucky that they responded to the material. And I was aware that the screenplay was a little bit crazy, to say the least, because I did go for it's a genre bending hybrid. It's not just one genre, it's in terms of characters, with this incredible cast that we had, they do each character is one of the main characters from the classic noir films. So the hero is not a hero, is an anti-hero. In other words, he does the right thing for the wrong reason, or the wrong thing for the right reason. The antagonist is very particular in noirs. The women are portrayed only in two ways. One is the good wife who takes care of the home, and the other one is the femme fatale. So they're already very stylized. And then there's the innocent, who's the character of Vincent, played by Jeremy Piven. The good wife from the noir is Sarah, played by Paz Vega. The femme fatale is Annabelle Belmondo, who plays Katie. John Kaplan is the anti-hero, who is played by Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, and Michael Rubino is the antagonist, and he's the son of the head of New York's mafia. And the day we meet him, it's at his dad's funeral, and all the bosses of mafia, they meet and they say, okay, we're going to crown you as the new head of the mafia, but on one condition, that you stop painting. Yeah. And that was his dream. He wanted to be an artist. So it's a very interesting take on an antagonist. It's not the classic, just purely evil guy at all. It's very likable, in fact.
I love movies that have to do with like the mob and the gangsters. This is some of my favorite films. As a writer, when you're writing this, do you do any research? Do you know anyone in the mafia, or how? I'm always curious how we get that kind of authentic mob mentality on the page, and then of course on the screen.
Well, I think the mob, just like art, are things that are already in everyone's mind. We all have a perception of this, right? From so many books and novels and movies, right? They became heroes in movies. Just like art, I thought at some point when I was writing the screenplay, I thought art is sort of like an invisible connection between me that I was writing and the rest of mankind, because all we have left from all the people that have ever lived before is their art, right? The buildings, the books, the music, that's what we have left from centuries and millennia before us. In the same sense, mafia is one of these human heritages that, since The Godfather, is become almost like mythical, it's become a myth. It's a myth.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds to me, Alessio, like you're a fan or student, I guess, of works past. What were kind of some of the influences for this particular movie? We here at WatchMojo, we love all things movies and pop culture. Is there any that come to mind, or maybe there wasn't?
In terms of movie references, there was some conscious choices from Stanley Kubrick and from Nicholas Winding Refn. But it was more a trip in pure imagination in my own, like, I created a world that had its own rules. Yeah. So each character has what he wanted and what he needed, which was different. And each character had its flaws when I was building it. And then as I was building it, they became alive, and I could close my eyes and see them talking in front of me. So it was like building a world. I literally created a world that has its own, like, morality, for example. Even though it does not happen in real life, in this world, no matter how bad you are, if you repent, you live. If you don't repent, you don't. So I created rules like different gravity, different morality, different, a whole set of rules to create sort of like a parallel universe.
Well, hey, listen, the end product is fantastic. I encourage people that haven't checked out American Night to go ahead and do so. Everything, and I didn't even mention the soundtrack. I mean, talk about another piece of art. The music is fantastic in there as well. Alessio, hey, I can't thank you enough for your time today, and I appreciate you having the chance to talk to me about American Night. Well, that's going to do it for another episode, everybody. My thanks, of course, to Kirsten for joining in on all the fun, Maxwell Jenkins, Alessio Della Valle, such great guests today, and, also want to thank my dog for chiming in more than a few times. Thank you for watching and listening. We'll see you next time on WatchMojo's Poppin the Culture.